We continue now at the top of Daf Vav Amud Aleph, Meseches Avoda Zara. This is Avoda Zara Daf 6a. And the previous Amud, the Gemara said that when a non-Jew, when the idol worshiper brings animals for his holiday, so he only needs 3 days to inspect the animal for blemishes, because really only mechus or aver, only if it's missing a limb, is it going to be disqualified. And the Gemara in the previous Amud said that we learned that from Bnei Noach in general, the way the Bnei Noach would bring a karbonos in terms of bringing karbonos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's also the way they would bring it to the idols. And we learn out by Noach, it says that Mikol Hachai, he brought all the animals onto the teva, Mikol Hachai, and we learn out from there that it can't be mechus or aver. But the Gemara asked on the previous Amud, really we need Mikol Hachai to teach that it has to live, it can't be a treifa, it can't have a mortal wound. And the Gemara said that we really learn out from L'chayos Zera, it says that it has to be able to have offspring, a treifa is not able to have offspring. But the Gemara says that's not true according to everyone, as the Gemara now continues. According to the one who says that a treifa is able to give birth, so what are we going to say? Because you can't say treifa is learned out from the Chayos Zera. And so the Gemara instead says there's another source for treifa. Amar Krotz, because the pasuk says itcha, it says you're going to bring itcha. Again, this is talking about ritach rather. You're going to bring into the teva the full pasuk mikol hachai mikol basar shnayim mikol tavi el hateva lahachayos itach zachar nekeva yehu. And so therefore we learn out from there bedom and loch, they have to be similar to you. Noach was not a treifa, and so the animals also cannot be a treifa. The Gemara says, well, how do you know that? V'dilma Noach gufe treifa havi, maybe Noach was a treifa. The Gemara says, no, tamim ksibbe, it says that Noach was tamim, he was whole, that means he wasn't a treifa. The Gemara says, v'dilma tamim b'derachav hayah, maybe it simply means he was tamim in his ways, in the way he behaved. The Gemara says, no, that's already written, tzaddik ksibbe, it already says that he was a tzaddik. The Gemara says, dilma tamim b'derachav, maybe the word tamim is in his ways, and tzaddik b'maisav, maybe tzaddik is in his actions. Rashi explains tamim b'derachav means anav, he was humble, ushval ruach, and tzaddik b'maisav means below chamas, it means he wasn't involved in robbery, that's what tzaddik means, maybe that's what it means. And so again, tamim b'derachav, tzaddik b'maisav have it. And the Gemara says, lo sakadaitach, don't think the Noach gufei treifa havoi, don't think that Noach was a treifa. Di sakadaitach the Noach treifa have it, because if it should enter your mind that Noach was a treifa, amar le rachmana kevasach ayil shalman losail, then it really wouldn't make sense. You're supposed to bring animals like you and not bring in animals that are whole, that are complete. That wouldn't make any sense. And so therefore, again, you're going to have to say that Noach is not a treifa. And we learn out from the word itach that the animals he brought in the teva, they were also not treifas. And the Gemara continues, well, v'hashda den afkalei me itach. Well, now that we're learning that out from itach, so l'chayos zera lamali. So you'd still have an extra phrase in the pasuk. What are we learning from l'chayos zera? And the Gemara says, ime itach. If we just had the word me itach, have amin letzavsa bialma. I might think that you needed to bring in 2 of each animal because each one needed a companion. V'afilu zaken v'afilu saris. Even if the animal that was a companion was older and couldn't give birth, even if it was a saris and again it couldn't give birth, and so that's why Kasav Rachmana Zera. That's why the pasuk says Zera, to say that the point of bringing in 2 animals is that they should be able to procreate. Rashi explains Litzavsa Bialma, just as a companionship, Lamod Imo Yud Beis Chadashim B'Teva, to be with him 12 months in the Teva. Umiu Treifa Lo Sa'ayil Shalo Thomas. Uvatal Atzavsa, and we would say that the reason you can't bring in a treifa is we don't want the animal to die, so there won't be that companionship. Avol Zakin V'Saris Shaper Dummy, but I might think a Zakin and Saris okay. Kamash Malon, again, that's what L'chayos Zera teaches, and again, in any case, the point over here is that we will still learn out from the pasuk Mikol Hachai that it can't be mechus or aver in terms of being brought as an offering, and again, that's why you need only 3 days 3 days before the holiday for the non-Jew to prepare his animal as an offering. And the Gemara continues, they had the following question, Shlosha Yomim Hein V'Edei, and again, going back to the Mishnah, it said that 3 days before the holiday of the non-Jew, so we're not supposed to do business dealings with them because we don't want them to go on the holiday and think they're Avoda Zara. And so when we say 3 days, is that including the holiday itself? So it would really just be 2 days before the holiday. Odil Mahain below a day, or maybe what it means is 3 days not counting the holiday itself, so it actually is 3 days before the holiday. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here, the following proof. This is from a Mishnah later on. Rabbi Yishmael says, Shlosha lifneim u'shlosha la'acharei an aser. He says 3 days before and 3 days after are going to be aser. And so the Gemara says, Yisal kadaita chen ve'edei. And now if you think that what it means is them and the holiday included, meaning to say that when we're saying 3 days before, we're including the holiday. When we're saying 3 days after, we're also including the holiday. So Rabbi Yishmael, Yom Edei and Chashav Luhu Meikara v'Chashav Luhu Levasof. Rabbi Yishmael is counting the holiday both before and after. It doesn't really make sense to say 3 days days before the holiday included, and 3 days after the holiday, that's also included. Is it included in both directions? And the Gemara says to that, Aidi the Tana Shlosha Lefneim, no, it could be, since it just says 3 before, Tana Nami Shlosha Lacharim, it says 3 after, but really it does mean, it simply means 2 days before and 2 days after. And Rashi explains, Tana Nami Shlosha Lacharim, Afagav Delesnu Alishnaim, even though technically it's just 2 days, to Chashvinon La'ed Bahadi Kamoy, because we're really counting the holiday with the first days. Kari Lhula Vasroi Nami Gimel, we just call them both 3, V'kachashav La'ed Bahadaya. Again, we're always counting the holiday together with the days before and after. It's possible that that's what's going on in that Mishnah. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here the following proof. The Amar Rav Tachlifa bar Avdimi Amar Shmuel, because Rav Tachlifa bar Avdimi says that Shmuel says, Yom Aleph, those who celebrate Sunday as a holiday, every Sunday. Some have the girsa here of notes from the Christians. It's referring to the Christians who celebrate Sunday as a holiday. So according to them, L'divrei Rabbi Yishmael, then according to Rabbi Yishmael, Liola Maser. So then actually you're never going to be able to do business with them, because again, he says 3 days before and 3 days after. And so if you have every single week a holiday, let's say every single Sunday is a holiday, plus you're adding 3 days before and 3 days after Sunday, that's 7 days the whole week. Is essentially usher to do business with them. And so the Gemara says, and now if you're going to say that what we mean to say over here is 3 days before, 3 days after, but we include the holiday, so it's really 2 days before and 2 days after, so that doesn't take up the whole week. You have Wednesday and Thursday, where it would still be permitted to do business with them. And so therefore it seems clear from the way we're interpreting Rabbi Shmuel over here that it actually is 3 days before and 3 days after, not counting the holiday, and the Gemara says indeed that's true. Aliva Rabbi Yishmael lo kami boili. According to Rabbi Yishmael, it is no question to me. Dehain below a day, and certainly Rabbi Yishmael was saying them not counting the holiday. He was saying 3 days before and 3 days after, not counting the holiday. Ki kami boili. When is it a question to me? Aliva de Rabbanan. It's really just a question according to the Rabbanan. So according to the Rabbanan, again, that 3 days before, does that count the holiday or not? And the Gemara says, Mai, so again, what's the answer to the question according to the Rabbanan? And the Gemara continues, Amar Ravina says, Tashma, coming here a proof from the Mishnah coming up. It says, Ve'elu heinei deyan shel Ovdei Kochavim. The following are the holidays of the Ovdei Kochavim. Kalanda, Satrunya, V'kartasim, those are the names of the holidays. V'yamar Rav Chanin bar Rava, and Rav Chanin bar Rava says, Kalanda ches yamim achar tkufa. Kalanda is an 8-day holiday. It's 8 days after the tkufa, which is 8 days after the winter solstice. And Satrunya is shmona yamim lefnei tkufa. Satrunya also is an 8-day holiday, 8 days before the winter solstice. And the way to remember which one is which, V'simonech, the way to remember is from the pasuk Achor v'Kadam Sarasani. It says Achor first, which is after, and then it says Kadam, which is before. And the same in the Mishnah. Kalanda is the one that's after. It's 8 days after the solstice, and Satrunya is 8 days before. In any case, we see over here that the holidays are not just 1 day, they're 8 days. And so now going back to the first Mishnah, when we say 3 days before the holiday, that's when you're not allowed to do business with them. Now, and now if you're going to say that the 3 days included the holiday, so that would make sense if the holiday was 1 day, but you don't have 3 days including the holiday on an 8-day holiday, that would be Asara Havid, that would be a total of 10 days. In other words, if it's 2 days before the actual holiday, and then you count the actual holiday, so that's 8 plus 2, it's not going to be a total of 3, it's going to be a total of 10. And the Gemara says, well, maybe it could be Tana Kule Kalanda Chad Yomahu Chashav Le. Maybe the Tana considers the entire holiday of Kalanda, it's all considered to be 1 day, and that's why we're calling it 3 days. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ravashi says, Tashma, coming here a proof from the wording of the Mishnah itself. It says, Lifnei Day and Shel Ovdei Kochavim Shlosha Yamim, before the holiday of the Ovdei Kochavim, 3 days. It certainly sounds like it's saying 3 actual days before the holiday. And if you think it means them and the holiday, so it's really just 2 days before. So listening, so it should have just said, a day and Shel Ovdei Kochavim Shlosha Yamim, the holiday of the Ovdei Kochavim for 3 days. That would include the day of the holiday itself. And if you're going to say, Lifnei Day, and maybe you'll say the reason I can't phrase it that way is because we want to know that it's Lifnei, that it's the 2 days before, not 2 days after. Maybe the reason why it says Lifnei Day and Lemutei Lachare Day, and it says Lifnei Day, and so you don't get confused and think it's after the holiday, but still you could have phrased it better. Listening, what it should have said was Edom Shel Ovdei Kochavim Gimel Yamim Lifneim, the holiday of the Ovdei Kochavim 3 days before them, and that would have included the holiday itself. Elashma Mina Hein Below a Day, and rather you see from the way it's phrased, it's not counting the holiday, it's actually 3 days before the holiday. And the Gemara says Shma Mina, indeed you do see that that is the case. And the Gemara continues, they had the following question. Mishum harvacha, what is the reason for this prohibition of doing business with the non-Jews, with the idolaters right before their holiday? Is it because they're going to have some kind of a profit, and then again, as we said, they're going to thank their idol for the profit, they're going to thank their idol for the gain? O Dilma, or maybe it's Mishum v'lifnei iver lo siton michshol. Maybe it's really an idea of lifnei iver. You can't put a stumbling block in front of the blind. And Rashi explains, v'lifnei iver, again, it's in order not to be over lifnei iver, demazvin le behema, because you're selling to the non-Jew an animal, umakriva la'avodas kochav, and then he's going to offer it to his idol. Uvnei noach nitztavo, and the bnei noach are commanded in terms of not worshiping idols. Diachas misheva mitzvos bedalad mitzvos b'sanhedrin. That's one of the sheva mitzvos bnei noach. Unehida amar, and granted, we said earlier, this is what we said on Daf Bezam and Bez, amar v'hitiran, that then they became mutter, so to speak, those sheva mitzvos bnei noach. Miu al yavra al yadecha, but still, they shouldn't transgress because of you. Shaharei asidin hein liten esadin al shein mekaymenosam, because there is going to be a judgment if they don't fulfill them. And even though there is no reward for fulfilling the Zion mitzvahs, again, this was mentioned earlier, so then it would be a problem again of lifnei iver. So is it an issue of harvacha that they're going to profit and they'll give thanks to their Avodah Zara, or is it an issue of lifnei iver that you're providing for them the animal that they're going to use for their Avodah Zara, which is a transgression? And the Gemara says, Lamai nafkamina, now what difference does it make? The difference would be, let's say he already has an animal. Rashi says, if the Ovid Kochavim has an animal to offer, even if the Jewish person wouldn't have sold him the animal, he still would have worshipped his Avodah Zara. That could be the difference. If you say it's because he's gaining something, he's profiting, so here also there's a profit. But if you say it's because of lifnei iver, so he already has an animal, so that wouldn't be a problem. But the Gemara asks, is it really true that if he has an animal, there's no transgression of lifnei iver? But we learned in a brayso, Amar Rabbi Nosson says, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Vav Amud Beis.